Chosen one, they are coming, and there may be no warning before the door opens. But hear this clearly, before fear tries to take over your mind. This is not a message of panic. This is not a message of doom. This is not a message telling you to hide from life, distrust everyone, or expect something dark to happen. This is a message of preparation, because some meetings are too sacred to be announced too early. Some conversations cannot be scheduled by human hands. Some arrivals cannot be explained before they happen. And some doors only open when the version of you standing in front of them is no longer begging, shrinking, chasing, or proving. You have felt it already. There has been a strange pressure in the atmosphere around your life. Something feels different, but you cannot fully explain what changed. The same room feels heavier. The same conversations feel smaller. The same people who used to have easy access to your energy suddenly feel far away, even if they are still physically near you. And part of you has been wondering why. Why do you feel like something is coming, but nothing has been clearly announced? Why do you feel watched over, but also separated? Why do you feel like a chapter is closing, but the next chapter has not introduced itself yet? Why do you sense movement behind the scenes, even though your physical life still looks quiet? Chosen one, that feeling is not random. Something is being arranged outside your sight. There is a table being prepared. There is a conversation being protected. There is a person, an opportunity, a confirmation, a message, or a divine arrangement moving closer to your life. And when it arrives, it may look sudden to everyone else, but your spirit will recognize it, because your spirit has been receiving signals long before your mind had language for them. This is why you must not treat this season casually. If you are listening while doing 10 other things, slow your attention down. You do not have to stop your life. You do not have to make a dramatic gesture. Just bring your awareness back into the room of your own spirit for a moment, because what I am about to say may help you understand why certain people have been removed, why certain doors have stayed closed, why certain signs have become stronger, and why this secret meeting had to remain hidden until now. And if you stay with this message until the end, you will understand 3 things that can protect your peace. You will understand why they may come with no warning. You will understand how to prepare without chasing, forcing, or over-explaining. And you will understand how to know whether the person or opportunity approaching you is truly aligned, temporarily allowed, or only trying to access information they were never meant to carry. This matters, because the greatest danger is not always the arrival itself. Sometimes the greatest danger is meeting a new moment with an old version of yourself. So breathe in a way that reminds your spirit that you are not late, you are not lost, and you are not being punished by the silence. You are being prepared. At first, you may have thought this strange feeling was only anxiety. You may have told yourself you were overthinking again. You may have wondered if your sensitivity was becoming too much, or if your mind was creating meaning where there was none. But look at what has been happening. There are moments when you feel tired in a way that sleep does not fully repair. Not lazy, not weak, not broken, just heavy, as if your body has been carrying something your mouth cannot explain. There are emotional waves that rise without a clear trigger. One moment you feel peaceful, then sadness moves through you, then hope appears out of nowhere, then silence feels louder than usual. There are dreams that stay with you after waking, not ordinary dreams that vanish in a few seconds, but dreams with faces, rooms, messages, roads, doors, tables, or voices that seem to leave an imprint inside you. There are signs that repeat in strange ways: a number, a phrase, a name, a song, a conversation you overhear at the exact moment you are asking a question inside yourself. And there is another sign that many chosen ones ignore. Your tolerance has changed. You cannot sit in the same old drama the way you used to. You cannot listen to the same shallow conversations without feeling your energy drain. You cannot keep pretending that certain connections still feed your spirit when they clearly exhaust it. This is not arrogance. This is not coldness. This is not you becoming too spiritual to love people. This is your system recognizing that access must change before assignment can change. Because before the secret meeting arrives, access is often reorganized. Certain voices get quieter. Certain distractions lose their pull. Certain relationships become uncomfortable, not because everyone is evil, but because not everyone can enter the next room with you. That is hard for a chosen one to accept, because you have a deep heart. You want to understand people. You want to give chances. You want to believe that if you explain your heart clearly enough, people will finally respect what God is building inside you. But this is the part you must hear. Some people could handle your pain, but not your peace. Some people could handle your confusion, but not your clarity. Some people could handle your wounded version, but not your healed one. Some people could sit with you when you were waiting, but they would become uncomfortable when the door finally opened. And that is why the meeting must be secret. Not secret because something dark is happening. Secret because something sacred is being protected. Think of a sealed room, not a room of fear, a room of purpose. Inside that room, there is a table, there are seats, there is timing, there is order. And not every person who walked with you in the last season is assigned to sit in that room with you in the next season. This is why some connections feel strange right now. This is why some conversations suddenly have no life in them. This is why some people who used to pull emotional reactions out of you can no longer reach the same place. This is why you are becoming quieter. This is why you no longer feel the need to explain every distance, defend every boundary, or prove every change. You are not becoming empty. You are becoming guarded in a sacred way. And there is a difference between being closed and being protected. A closed person refuses love because they are afraid. A protected person allows love, but no longer gives sacred access to unsafe hands. A closed person pushes everyone away. A protected person learns who can sit close and who must remain outside the door. A closed person hides from life. A protected person waits until the right time, the right voice, the right fruit, and the right confirmation. Chosen one, this is where the mystery gets deeper, because you may think the secret is about who is coming. You may be asking, is it a person from the past? Is it a future partner? Is it a business connection? Is it a family conversation? Is it someone who owes me an apology? Is it an opportunity I did not see coming? And for some of you, it may show up through one of those forms. It may come through a message that arrives when you are not expecting it. It may come through a phone call from someone who has been silent. It may come through a door that opens after months of stillness. It may come through a conversation that begins casually but carries spiritual weight. It may come through someone being moved closer to your path without you arranging it. But the deeper secret is not only who is coming. The deeper secret is why the timing had to be sealed. Because if you had known too early, the old version of you might have tried to control it. You might have told the wrong person. You might have started rehearsing the conversation every night. You might have reached out before the moment was mature. You might have confused anxiety with instruction. You might have opened your heart too quickly. You might have turned a sacred meeting into a desperate performance. And this is why the divine sometimes hides the details while still preparing the person. You were not being ignored. You were being formed. You were not being denied. You were being steadied. You were not being punished by silence. You were being protected from premature exposure. There are things that cannot be revealed while fear is still in control of your response. There are doors that cannot open while your identity is still dependent on who approves of you. There are conversations that cannot happen while you are still tempted to betray your peace just to keep someone close. There are meetings that cannot be trusted to the version of you that apologizes for having boundaries. This is why your inner life has been under construction. This is why you have been learning restraint. This is why you have been learning silence. This is why you have been learning to let people misunderstand you without running after them to fix the story. Because when they come, you cannot hand them the old you. You cannot hand them the version that overexplains. You cannot hand them the version that panics when someone goes quiet. You cannot hand them the version that accepts crumbs because the hunger for connection is stronger than discernment. You cannot hand them the version that confuses intensity with alignment. The secret meeting is not just about them arriving. It is about you being ready. And readiness does not always look dramatic. Sometimes readiness looks like peace. Sometimes readiness looks like saying less. Sometimes readiness looks like letting the first message sit for a moment before answering. Sometimes readiness looks like listening beneath the words. Sometimes readiness looks like not telling everyone what you sense. Sometimes readiness looks like trusting that what is truly sent will not require you to abandon yourself in order to receive it. There is a reason the atmosphere around you feels charged. There is a reason you have felt pulled inward. There is a reason certain old doors no longer excite you. There is a reason your spirit keeps whispering that something is near. You are not waiting for a random event. You are approaching a threshold. And thresholds are sacred because they test what you have become. Before a new room opens, the old identity gets challenged. Before a new conversation happens, the old reaction pattern rises. Before a new connection arrives, the old fear of rejection tries to speak. Before a divine opportunity appears, the old unworthiness may ask, "Who do you think you are?" That is the test. Not to break you, to reveal what has already been healed. And I hear this strongly for the chosen one who has been asking why everything feels delayed. The delay was not empty. The silence was not meaningless. The distance was not abandonment. The hidden season was not proof that nothing was happening. You were being prepared in a place where no one could interrupt the work. You were being trained in a room where applause could not distract you. You were being strengthened in a season where the wrong voices could not shape your next yes. You were being taught to carry peace before being trusted with the meeting. Because the meeting will require peace. It will require discernment. It will require restraint. It will require the ability to hear what is not being said. It will require the courage to let the wrong seat remain empty. And it will require the humility to recognize that not every sudden arrival is the final answer. Some arrivals are confirmations, some are tests, some are transitions, some are closures, some are beginnings. This is why you cannot rush to label what is coming. Let it reveal its fruit. Let it show its pattern. Let it speak more than once. Let time confirm what emotion wants to decide too quickly. Chosen one, there is also something else you need to understand. Preparation is not only spiritual language, it is also mental. It is emotional. It is energetic. It is the condition of the inner room you carry into the outer room. Because if your mind is full of noise, you may misread peace as boredom and chaos as chemistry. If your nervous system is addicted to proving, you may turn a simple conversation into a courtroom. If your heart is still afraid of being abandoned, you may give too much access too quickly. And if your inner frequency is still tuned to survival, even a blessing can feel like a threat. Later in this message, I will come back to this, because there is a deeper connection between your inner state, your clarity, and your ability to recognize what is truly being sent. But for now, remember this. The meeting is secret because the timing is protected. The timing is protected because your peace matters. Your peace matters because the next room cannot be entered through panic. So do not chase the door. Do not force the message. Do not dig up what is still being planted. Do not ask people who cannot discern your spirit to interpret what is happening around your life. And do not announce what has only been whispered to you in secret. Some things lose their purity when exposed too early. Some seeds die when they are handled too much. Some doors close when the wrong hands try to force them open. Let this be the moment you stop trying to know everything before it's time. Inside your spirit, picture a sealed door. You are not banging on it. You are not begging outside of it. You are not pressing your ear against it in fear. You are standing in front of it with calm authority, knowing that when it is time, what is meant for you will not need to be dragged into your life. Say this within yourself, even if you never say it out loud. I will not force what is sacred. I will not panic before the door opens. I will not hand the next room to the old version of me. That is the posture. That is the preparation. That is the beginning of readiness. Because what is coming may not arrive with thunder. It may not arrive with dramatic signs. It may not arrive the way your imagination expects. It may arrive quietly. A simple message, a familiar name, an unexpected invitation. A conversation that starts small but opens something deep. A person who appears calm on the outside but carries an assignment connected to your next step. A door that opens without begging. A confirmation that makes your spirit go still. And when it happens, you will understand why you had to become quiet first. You will understand why certain people could not know. You will understand why the waiting stripped you of desperation. You will understand why the meeting had to be hidden from interference. But before that moment comes, there is one more layer you need to understand. Because sometimes the door does not delay, because heaven is slow. Sometimes it delays because your body still thinks the door is a threat. And until your inner world stops treating blessing like danger, you may stand in front of the very thing you prayed for and still feel the urge to run, control, explain, or sabotage it. That is what we need to talk about next. Because the truth is, chosen one, not every blessing feels safe when it first approaches. Sometimes you can pray for a door to open, and then when the door finally begins to move, your whole inner world starts trembling. Not because the door is wrong, not because the blessing is fake, not because you are ungrateful, but because part of you still remembers what happened the last time you trusted, opened, hoped, reached, believed, or let someone close. Your spirit may be ready for the meeting, but your nervous system may still be guarding the wound. That is why you can feel both excited and afraid at the same time. One part of you says, "This is what I have been waiting for." Another part of you says, "What if I get hurt again?" One part of you senses divine timing. Another part of you wants proof before taking even one step. One part of you knows something is coming. Another part of you wants to control every detail before it arrives. This is not weakness. This is what happens when a chosen one has carried heavy things for too long. You learn to survive by reading the room. You learn to survive by sensing changes in tone. You learn to survive by preparing for disappointment before it arrived. You learn to survive by not getting too excited, because excitement used to make disappointment hurt more. So when something good begins moving toward you, your body may not call it good at first. It may call it danger. That is why you must become very still inside before the meeting arrives. Not physically still. You may be lying down. You may be driving. You may be working. You may be listening in the middle of a regular day. But inside, there must be a place in you that refuses to panic just because something sacred is getting close. Here is what you must understand. If you meet the next door with an old wound, you may misread what is being offered. You may mistake peace for emptiness, because chaos is what you are used to. You may mistake consistency for boredom, because unpredictability used to feel like passion. You may mistake a slow, honest conversation for rejection, because you are used to people rushing in with intensity and disappearing later. You may mistake a healthy boundary for abandonment, because in your past, distance often meant punishment. This is why the secret meeting cannot only be about who is coming. It must also be about what condition you are in when they arrive. Because the meeting may be right, but if your inner room is full of fear, you may not recognize it correctly. You may stand in front of an open door and still feel the urge to run. You may hear the apology and still feel the old defense rise. You may receive the invitation and still think there must be a catch. You may feel the opportunity and still whisper, "I am not ready for this." Chosen one, listen. Readiness is not the absence of fear. Readiness is the moment fear is present, but it is no longer leading. Readiness is the moment your old wound speaks, but you do not obey it immediately. Readiness is the moment your heart remembers the pain, but your spirit remembers the promise. That is the posture you need. Before they come, build a quiet room within yourself. A room where fear is allowed to speak, but not allowed to rule. A room where hope is allowed to rise, but not allowed to rush. A room where discernment sits at the table before emotion starts making decisions. In your mind, picture a small lamp being lit inside that room. Not a fire that burns out of control. Not a spotlight that exposes everything too quickly. A small, steady lamp. Let that lamp represent the part of you that can stay calm even when life becomes uncertain. Now imagine every anxious thought standing outside the room, knocking for attention. The thought that says, what if they leave? The thought that says, what if this is a trap? The thought that says, what if I say the wrong thing? The thought that says, what if I am not enough? You do not have to fight those thoughts. You simply do not give them the chair of authority. Inside your spirit, say this: fear may be present, but fear will not preside. That is how you begin to prepare, because when the meeting arrives, you will need to know the difference between fear speaking and truth speaking. Fear rushes, truth steadies. Fear demands proof every second. Truth watches fruit over time. Fear asks everyone for an opinion. Truth listens for peace, pattern, and confirmation. Fear tries to force the door open. Truth knows that what is truly sent will not require you to abandon yourself. And this is why the meeting has been protected. Not delayed, protected. What felt like a delay was protection. What felt like silence was protection. What felt like isolation was protection. What felt like nothing happening was protection. The reason you could not force certain doors open is because the room was not ready. The reason certain people went quiet is because their voice could not be allowed to shape your response. The reason your plans kept stopping is because the timing was still being sealed. The reason you had to sit with unanswered questions is because clarity given too early would have become something for fear to misuse. You thought you were waiting for them, but in many ways, heaven was waiting for you to stop negotiating with the old version of yourself. You cannot enter the secret meeting as the person who begs for access. You cannot enter it as the person who explains until your voice gets tired. You cannot enter it as the person who feels guilty for having boundaries. You cannot enter it as the person who gives sacred information to anyone who shows temporary interest. You cannot enter it as the person who confuses being chosen with being available to everyone. You are not available to everyone. Your heart is not a public room. Your energy is not a hallway for every passerby. Your next season is not a story that every curious person is allowed to hear before it is fully formed. This is where the chosen one must grow, because your compassion has sometimes made you careless with your access. You saw pain in people and called it permission. You saw potential in people and ignored their pattern. You saw a familiar face and forgot to ask whether their fruit had changed. You saw an apology and wanted to believe it was transformation. But not everything that returns has been renewed. Not everything that knocks has been sent. Not everything that sounds emotional is honest. Not every person who misses your presence is prepared to respect your purpose. And not every opportunity that opens quickly is aligned with where you are being led. This is why discernment is not optional in this season. Discernment is the key that keeps the secret meeting from becoming another old cycle. Discernment is what lets you sit at the table without handing your spirit away. Discernment is what helps you hear the difference between a door opening and a distraction dressing itself like destiny. Look at Joseph. He had dreams before he had position. He had a promise before he had proof. But if the palace had opened too early, before the pit, before the prison, before the hidden formation, he would not have had the wisdom to carry the weight of the room. The palace was not just a reward, it was a responsibility. Look at Esther. She was positioned before she fully understood why. Her beauty opened the door, but her courage revealed the assignment. The moment came suddenly, but the preparation was not sudden. That is how sacred timing works. To the outside world, it looks like everything changed in a moment. But inside the chosen one, years of silent formation were being gathered into one prepared yes. That is what is happening with you. People may think the meeting came out of nowhere. They may think the message was random. They may think the opportunity appeared overnight. They may think the person suddenly changed direction toward you. But you will know the truth. You will know this was not overnight. This was not random. This was not accidental. This was not luck. This was timing protected until your identity became strong enough to sit in the room. And I hear this in my spirit. You were not hidden because you were forgotten. You were hidden because the room you are about to enter required a version of you that could not be built in public. You were hidden because some parts of you needed to heal without constant observation. You were hidden because your next yes could not be shaped by old pressure. You were hidden because the wrong people would have talked you out of the very thing your spirit was being prepared to receive. So stop calling the hidden season wasted. Stop calling the silence empty. Stop calling the delay denial. Stop calling the separation rejection. The secret meeting was not kept from you. It was kept from interference. And now the question changes. It is no longer, when will they come? It is, what state will I be in when they arrive? Because if your mind is still full of static, you may not hear the whisper beneath the words. If your heart is still desperate for validation, you may call any attention a sign. If your spirit is tired, foggy, and overwhelmed, you may confuse pressure with purpose. This is why your inner frequency matters. Not in a shallow way, not as a trendy phrase, but because the state of your inner world affects what you can perceive, what you can process, and what you can receive. A noisy mind can turn a simple meeting into a storm. A fearful mind can turn a blessing into a threat. A wounded mind can turn a healthy pause into proof of rejection. A distracted mind can miss the very confirmation it prayed to recognize. This is why many chosen ones do not only need a door, they need clarity when the door opens. They need peace when the message arrives. They need focus when the conversation begins. They need the ability to hear beyond the surface. And this is where the deeper connection comes in. Earlier, I told you that preparation is not only spiritual language, it is mental, emotional, and energetic. For some of you, this will be important. There is a state of the brain often connected with heightened clarity, deep focus, creativity, and those rare moments when you suddenly understand something you could not understand before. Many people describe it as flow. Some describe it as intuition becoming sharp. Some describe it as the mind becoming quiet enough to hear what was always underneath the noise. This is often connected to gamma brainwave activity. Now, I want to be careful and honest here. No audio, no tool, and no practice can replace wisdom, prayer, healing, responsibility, or discernment. You are not looking for magic. You are not looking for something to do the inner work for you. But sometimes a tool can support the state you are trying to enter. Sometimes the right sound, the right rhythm, the right frequency, the right daily ritual can help the mind stop fighting itself long enough for clarity to rise. That is why I want to mention something for those who feel drawn to explore it. There is a 7-minute audio track called The Genius Song. It was created around the idea of brainwave entrainment, using sound to help guide the brain toward a more focused, heightened state. It is designed to be listened to with headphones for 7 minutes a day. Again, this is not a replacement for your spiritual life. It is not a guarantee that every problem disappears. It is not something I want you to approach with desperation. Think of it more like a small recalibration ritual for the mind. A way of saying, before I enter the day, before I answer from fear, before I react from old wounds, I am going to give my inner world 7 minutes to become clear. And for a chosen one who has been carrying mental fog, emotional heaviness, and the strange feeling that their deeper gifts used to be sharper, this can feel very personal. Because many chosen ones remember a version of themselves from earlier in life, a version that learned quickly, a version that sensed things deeply, a version that felt more creative, more alive, more connected, more guided. Then life happened. Pressure happened. Disappointment happened. Survival happened. Noise happened. And slowly, that sharpness became buried under exhaustion. The genius song is made for people who feel that something inside them did not disappear, but went dormant. I heard a story of a woman who had spent years searching through meditation, yoga, and spiritual practices, yet still felt like a true connection had not fully opened. She did not approach this audio as a miracle. She approached it with honesty, almost like saying, "I do not know if this will help, but I am willing to see." After using it consistently, the word she used to describe the shift was synchronicities. Not because her life became perfect overnight, not because every question was instantly answered, but because she began to feel as if the noise around her mind was no longer louder than the quiet guidance inside her. That is the kind of framing I want you to hold. Not hype, not pressure, not a false promise, just a tool that may support clarity for those who feel called to investigate it. If you want to explore the 7-minute ritual, I placed the link in the description and the pinned comment of this video. And I need to say this clearly. There are fake pages and imitation audios using the name of the genius song. Some are only ordinary sounds without the original brain entrainment technology or the bonuses connected to the official version. So if you choose to look into it, use only the link in the description and pinned comment. Do not search randomly on other platforms and assume every result is the real one. The official version is digital, delivered by email, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So if you explore it and feel it is not for you, you are not trapped. But listen carefully. Whether you use that tool or not, the deeper message remains the same. No tool replaces discernment. No sound replaces obedience to truth. No ritual replaces the responsibility to protect your peace. The purpose is not to make you dependent on anything outside of you. The purpose is to support the clarity that helps you recognize what has been speaking inside you all along. Because when they come, you will need clarity. When the message arrives, you will need clarity. When the invitation appears, you will need clarity. When the old person returns, you will need clarity. When the new opportunity opens, you will need clarity. When the conversation begins, you will need clarity. And clarity does not mean you know everything instantly. Clarity means you know how to stay present without surrendering your authority. Now we must talk about the people, doors, and opportunities that may approach you, because not everything coming toward you belongs in the same category. Some are sent, some are allowed, and some are only curious. You need to know the difference. A person who is sent does not always make life easy, but they bring a strange kind of peace with them. Their presence does not make you feel like you have to shrink to be accepted. Their words may challenge you, but they do not confuse you for sport. They can respect your boundaries without punishing you for having them. They are not just excited about your gift, they are respectful of your process. They do not need to own you in order to walk with you. They do not need to rush you in order to prove connection. They do not need to make you afraid in order to keep your attention. When someone is sent, there is fruit. Not just chemistry, drought. There is patience. There is consistency. There is accountability. There is humility. There is peace that does not require you to betray yourself. Then there are those who are allowed. They may not be permanent, but they serve a purpose. They may come to reveal how much you have grown. They may come to give confirmation. They may come to close a chapter that never had a proper ending. They may come to show you that what once controlled you no longer has the same power. Do not despise what is temporary if it teaches you truth. Not every person who comes is meant to stay forever. Some are mirrors. Some are messengers. Some are bridges. Some are endings in disguise. And then there are those who are only curious. They want information, but not responsibility. They want access, but not alignment. They want your energy, but not your truth. They want to know what is happening in your life, but they have no intention of honoring what God is building in you. They ask questions that feel like concern, but leave you feeling exposed. They return when they sense you rising, but were absent when you were being formed. They speak warmly, but something inside you feels guarded. Do not ignore that. Your spirit may recognize what your ears are trying to excuse. This is why the first conversation matters. When they come, do not give everything away in the first moment. Do not tell the entire story of your healing. Do not explain every detail of your waiting. Do not reveal every sign you received. Do not hand them the map of your inner world just because they knocked. Let the conversation breathe. Let time speak. Let consistency testify. Let fruit appear. A sent person will not need you to abandon discernment. An allowed person will teach you something, even if they do not remain. A curious person will expose themselves when they realize access is no longer free. This is the wisdom of the secret meeting. It is not only about receiving what is coming, it is about recognizing what kind of thing has arrived. A door can open and still not be yours. A voice can sound kind and still not be safe. An opportunity can look impressive and still pull you out of alignment. A person can return with emotion and still not carry transformation. That is why you do not rush. You observe, you listen, you ask inwardly, what fruit is here? Not what feeling is here, not what fantasy is here, not what fear is here. What fruit is here? Peace is fruit. Clarity is fruit. Patience is fruit. Accountability is fruit. Consistency is fruit. Respect is fruit. Truth is fruit. If the meeting is sacred, it will not require you to silence your discernment in order to keep it. If the connection is aligned, it will not punish you for moving slowly. If the opportunity is truly sent, it will not demand that you betray your values to enter it. If the apology is real, it will accept the time required to rebuild trust. If the door is meant for you, it will not make you become false in order to fit through it. Chosen one, this is the part that will set you free. You do not have to be suspicious of everything, but you do have to be awake. You do not have to reject everyone, but you do have to stop giving sacred access to every person who knows the right words. You do not have to fear what is coming, but you do have to meet it with the healed version of your wisdom. That is why the next part is so important, because the most dangerous moment is not before they come. It is the first moment after they arrive. That first message, that first call, that first invitation, that first look, that first conversation where your past, your hope, your fear, and your discernment all gather in the same room. In that moment, the old you may try to rise. The old you may want to over-explain. The old you may want to prove. The old you may want to answer too quickly. The old you may want to believe too fast. The old you may want to open the whole door just because someone knocked softly. But the prepared you must respond differently. The prepared you listens before labeling. The prepared you breathes before answering. The prepared you watches fruit before surrendering access. The prepared you does not confuse sudden arrival with divine approval. The prepared you knows that a secret meeting is not an invitation to become careless. It is an invitation to become present. So when they come, do not become the old you. That is what we must speak about next, because your first response may reveal whether you are truly ready for the room that has been prepared. Because the room that has been prepared for you is not only testing what comes toward you, it is testing who answers when it comes. Will the old you answer, or will the prepared you answer? Will the wounded version of you rush to prove your value, or will the healed version of you remain seated in peace? Will the fearful version of you open the whole door because someone knocked, or will the discerning version of you listen first, watch fruit, and let time confirm what emotion wants to decide too quickly? Chosen one. This is where everything becomes practical, because when they come, it may not feel like a dramatic scene. It may be a simple message, a name appearing on your phone, a voice you have not heard in a while, an invitation that sounds ordinary, A conversation that begins with small words but carries a weight your spirit recognizes immediately. A sudden opportunity that seems to appear out of nowhere. A person who acts casual, but something in you feels the atmosphere change. Do not ignore that moment, but do not worship it either. The first moment after they arrive is not the moment to surrender all discernment. It is the moment to become more present than you have ever been. This is where the old you may try to rise. The old you may want to answer immediately because silence feels unsafe. The old you may want to explain everything because being misunderstood used to feel unbearable. The old you may want to show how much you have changed because deep down you still want someone to finally see you clearly. The old you may want to forgive too quickly, trust too quickly, accept too quickly, celebrate too quickly, or reveal too much too quickly. But the prepared you does not move from hunger. The prepared you moves from peace. The prepared you does not confuse an arrival with an assignment. The prepared you does not confuse attention with alignment. The prepared you does not confuse apology with transformation. The prepared you does not confuse a sudden open door with divine permission to abandon wisdom. When they come, let the first response be inward before it is outward. Inside yourself, create one quiet second between what you feel and what you do. One quiet second can save you from an old pattern. One quiet second can keep you from giving sacred access to the wrong voice. One quiet second can stop a wounded reaction from dressing itself like spiritual obedience. One quiet second can remind you that you are not the same person who used to answer from fear. You do not have to freeze. You do not have to perform. You do not have to punish them with silence. You do not have to reward them with immediate access. You simply have to return to the seat of your own spirit before you speak. And in that inward second, ask quietly, what fruit is here? Not what fantasy is here. Not what fear is here. Not what memory is here. Not what loneliness is here. What fruit is here? Does this carry peace, even if it is serious? Does this carry humility, or only emotion? Does this carry consistency, or only intensity? Does this honor my boundaries, or test them immediately? Does this bring clarity, or does it pull me back into confusion? Does this help me become more truthful, or does it tempt me to become small again? That is how you begin. Not with suspicion, with discernment, not with coldness, with wisdom, not with fear, with sacred restraint, because restraint is not rejection. Restraint is not bitterness. Restraint is not you being difficult. Restraint is the proof that you no longer hand your whole inner world to someone just because they found the door. Some of you need to hear this clearly. You are allowed to answer slowly. You are allowed to listen before trusting. You are allowed to receive an apology without immediately reopening full access. You are allowed to be kind without being available. You are allowed to be peaceful without being naive. You are allowed to forgive without returning to the same pattern. You are allowed to love people and still recognize that not everyone belongs in the room. And you do not owe anyone an apology for protecting what took so long to rebuild. This is especially important if the one coming is someone from your past, because the past carries a strange power. A familiar voice can make an old wound speak. A familiar name can awaken an old hope. A familiar apology can touch a place in you that still wants the story to end differently. A familiar opportunity can make you think, maybe this time it will finally work. And maybe for some of you, something real has changed. Maybe someone has grown. Maybe a door that once closed is opening in a healthier way. Maybe a conversation that could not happen before is now mature enough to happen. Maybe the meeting is not about returning to the past, but finally releasing it with understanding. But you must not let familiarity replace discernment. Just because you recognize the person does not mean you recognize their fruit. Just because you remember the connection does not mean the connection is aligned for this season. Just because something once mattered does not mean it gets automatic access to the person you have become. When they come, do not meet them as the version of you who was desperate to be chosen. Meet them as the version of you who now understands that being chosen does not mean being endlessly available. This is also true if what comes is an opportunity. A new door can be exciting and still require discernment. A big offer can look impressive and still pull you away from peace. A sudden invitation can feel like breakthrough and still need to be tested by alignment. A chance to be seen can awaken both calling and fear. So when the opportunity comes, do not only ask, "Is this big?" Ask, "Is this clean?" Ask, "Does this require me to betray my values?" Ask, "Does this make me more truthful or more performative?" Ask, "Does this align with the person I am becoming?" Ask, "Can I walk through this door without abandoning the quiet wisdom I fought to gain?" Because not every big door is your door. Not every fast door is a divine door. Not every impressive room is a room where your spirit can breathe. The right door may challenge you, but it will not require you to become false. The right door may stretch you, but it will not demand that you betray your soul. The right door may make you nervous, but it will not make you disappear from yourself. And if what comes is a person you have never met before, the same wisdom applies. Do not let potential blind you to pattern. Do not let chemistry silence your knowing. Do not let loneliness choose faster than discernment can speak. Do not let someone's admiration become the reason you ignore the absence of fruit. A sent person will not need to conquer you. A sent person will not need to confuse you. A sent person will not need to rush intimacy to prove destiny. A sent person will have patience for the pace of trust. A sent person will respect the door because they respect the room. And if they do not respect the door, they are not ready for the room. That one sentence may save you. If they do not respect the door, they are not ready for the room. Because the door is your boundary. The room is your inner world. The table is your purpose. And the seat is access. Not everyone gets the seat. Not everyone gets the story. Not everyone gets the map. Not everyone gets the softest part of you just because they ask with the right tone. Chosen one. This is not about becoming hard. It is about becoming holy in your access. It is about not words only, Fraut. Not tears only, Fraut. Not nostalgia only, Fraut. Not promises only, Fraut. Not chemistry only, Fraut. This is why your first response matters. Because the first response reveals whether the old pattern still owns the door. If you answer from fear, fear will set the terms. If you answer from hunger, hunger will overlook the warning signs. If you answer from pride, pride will turn the meeting into performance. If you answer from pain, pain will hear things that were not said. But if you answer from peace, peace will give you room to see clearly. If you answer from wisdom, wisdom will notice what excitement misses. If you answer from truth, truth will not need to manipulate the outcome. If you answer from your healed identity, you will not need to force what is truly aligned. This is the no forcing practice. When the moment comes, let it arrive without grabbing it. Let the message speak without building a fantasy around it. Let the person show fruit without giving them the whole garden. Let the opportunity open without throwing away every other sign. Let the conversation begin without deciding the ending in the first 5 minutes. Let what is real breathe. What is sent can breathe. What is aligned can breathe. What is rooted can breathe. What is false usually demands urgency before wisdom has time to speak. Remember that. Pressure often tries to move faster than peace. Manipulation often tries to create a deadline around your fear. The wrong door often says, "Decide now before you can discern." The right door can carry urgency without stealing your inner authority. There is a difference. You must learn that difference, because they may come with no warning, but you do not have to respond with no wisdom. They may arrive suddenly, but you do not have to surrender suddenly. They may speak emotionally, but you do not have to answer emotionally. They may appear at the door, but you still decide who receives a seat. This is the maturity of a chosen one. And now you need to remember who you are when you sit at that table. You are not just someone waiting for something to happen. You are the seer. You sense patterns before other people admit them. You feel the shift in a room before words catch up. You notice what changes in someone's tone, timing, energy, and consistency. Do not apologize for that sensitivity. It has protected you more times than you realize. But the seer must not become paranoid. Your gift is not meant to make you suspicious of everything. Your gift is meant to help you stay awake. You are also the bridge. You have lived between worlds, between the old and the new, between pain and purpose, between silence and revelation, between the person you were and the person you are becoming. That is why some meetings come to you. You carry the ability to connect what others keep separating. But the bridge must not let everyone walk across without permission. A bridge without boundaries becomes a place people use without honoring what it costs to stand there. You are the truth carrier. You cannot live in falsehood the way you used to. Your spirit rejects what your old self tolerated. You may try to pretend for a while, but your body knows. Your peace knows. Your dreams know. Your silence knows. The truth in you is getting stronger, but the truth carrier must not use truth as a weapon. Truth does not need cruelty to be powerful. Truth can be calm and still divide what is real from what is false. You are the spiritual warrior, not because you fight everyone, not because you are loud, not because you need to win every argument, but because you can hold ground without collapsing. You can be misunderstood and still remain steady. You can be pressured and still refuse to betray your spirit. You can feel fear and still not let fear take the throne. But the spiritual warrior must know when not to engage. Some battles are traps. Some explanations are drains. Some arguments are invitations to step out of the peace you just reclaimed. You are also the builder. You are not only receiving a meeting, you are building what comes after it. You are building a new pattern. You are building a new way of responding. You are building a life where peace is not temporary. You are building a table where truth can sit without fear. You are building a future where access is sacred, not automatic. This is why the secret meeting matters. It is not just an event. It is a mirror. It will show you whether you still abandon yourself when something important approaches. It will show you whether you can remain kind without becoming careless. It will show you whether you can receive without chasing. It will show you whether you can forgive without losing wisdom. It will show you whether you can walk into the next room as the person your hidden season created. And I hear the Father saying, I did not hide you to humiliate you. I hid you to heal you. I did not delay the meeting to deny you. I delayed it to prepare you. I did not let the wrong voices leave because you were unlovable. I removed what could not honor where I am taking you. Let that settle in your spirit. You were not being erased. You were being refined. You were not being ignored. You were being instructed. You were not being left behind. You were being positioned. And now, before this message closes, I want you to enter the sealed room within your imagination. You do not need to move your body. You do not need to stop what you are safely doing. Just let your inner attention picture this. There is a door in front of you. It is not locked against you. It is sealed for you. There is a difference. A locked door says you are rejected. A sealed door says the timing is protected. You stand before that door without begging. You stand before it without rehearsing. You stand before it without calling every person you know to ask what they think. You stand before it without fear deciding your posture. On the other side of the door, there is a quiet room. Not a room of performance. Not a room where you have to prove why you belong. Not a room where your worth is being debated. A quiet room. A prepared room. A room with a table. And at that table, there is a seat for you. Not the old you. Not the version of you that begged for crumbs. Not the version of you that apologized for needing peace. Not the version of you that called confusion love. Not the version of you that gave access because loneliness was loud. The seat is for the prepared you, the steady you, the discerning you, the truthful you. The you who can listen without shrinking. The you who can receive without rushing. The you who can love without surrendering wisdom. The you who can say yes with peace and no without guilt. Now imagine that every old reaction is standing outside the room. The need to prove, the need to chase, the need to explain, the need to be chosen by people who never honored your spirit, the need to open the door before the fruit is visible, the need to turn every arrival into destiny. You do not fight those reactions. You simply refuse to seat them at the table. Inside your spirit, say this: only peace gets a seat. Only truth gets a seat. Only discernment gets a seat. Only what is aligned gets a seat. Only what honors the work God has done in me gets a seat. Let that be the seal over your next response, because the next time something approaches, you will remember this room. When the message comes, remember the room. When the call comes, remember the room. When the invitation comes, remember the room. When the apology comes, remember the room. When the opportunity comes, remember the room. When the familiar name appears, remember the room. When excitement rises, remember the room. When fear rises, remember the room. Do not let any sudden arrival pull you out of the seat that peace gave you. Now let us seal what has been spoken. Chosen one, what you felt was not random. The strange silence was not random. The emotional waves were not random. The distance from certain people was not random. The sudden sensitivity was not random. The dreams, the signs, the pressure in the atmosphere, the feeling that something is near. It was not random, but it was also not permission to panic. It was preparation. You thought you were anxious, but part of you was sensing transition. You thought you were delayed, but your timing was being protected. You thought you were hidden, but your spirit was being formed. You thought the meeting was about who was coming, but heaven was also preparing who would answer when they arrived. That is the revelation. The meeting is secret because the timing is protected. The timing is protected because your peace matters. Your peace matters because the next room cannot be entered through panic. So do not chase. Do not force. Do not announce what has not fully arrived. Do not give sacred details to unsafe people. Do not confuse sudden movement with final confirmation. Do not let loneliness open a door that discernment has not approved. Do not become the old you just because something new is approaching. If they are sent, fruit will speak. If they are allowed, the lesson will be clear. If they are only curious, the boundary will reveal them. You do not have to fear the meeting. You only have to enter it awake. You do not have to fear the person. You only have to watch the fruit. You do not have to fear the opportunity. You only have to test the alignment. You do not have to fear the unknown. You only have to remain seated in the truth of who you have become. May every wrong voice lose illegal access to your spirit. May every false door close before it costs you your peace. May every sent connection find you prepared, not desperate. May every divine opportunity meet you steady, not scattered. May every secret meeting arrive at the right time, in the right way, with the right confirmation. May you have the courage to move slowly when your old self wants to rush. May you have the wisdom to listen beneath words. May you have the strength to keep the door guarded until fruit appears. May you have the humility to receive what is truly sent. May you have the authority to release what is only curious. And may you never again betray the healed version of yourself just to keep access to someone who does not honor your peace. Chosen one, they may come with no warning, but you will not be unprepared. You have been trained in silence. You have been refined in waiting. You have been strengthened in separation. You have been taught to listen. You have been taught to let go. You have been taught to stop explaining your sacred process to people assigned only to misunderstand it. Now the room is being prepared. The table is being guarded. The door is not locked against you. It is sealed for the right time. And when it opens, walk in as the person your hidden season created. Not frantic, not begging, not proving, not shrinking, not handing out access because the knock sounded familiar. Walk in with peace. Walk in with discernment. Walk in with truth. Walk in with the quiet authority of someone who knows that what is truly sent will not require them to abandon themselves. If this message confirmed what your spirit has been feeling, write this in the comments. I am ready for the secret meeting, not as a performance, not as a superstition, but as a declaration that the old version of you will not answer the next door. And if this message was for you, stay close to this space, because the next season of your life will require clarity, peace, and the courage to recognize what God is sending without being deceived by what only looks familiar. Chosen one, when they come, do not become the old you. Sit in peace. Listen with discernment. Watch the fruit. The room is already being prepared.